Today on the Flash Traffic Podcast, we talk about traumatic brain injury and post-traumatic stress disorder in the United States Army. Okay, let's go.
Conflict, politics, military-industrial complex, technology, war. The Flash Traffic Podcast.
Well, they'd be lucky to have you. They're like, oh, he's reasonably in shape, no addictions, no criminal record that we can tell. You're an ideal Russian recruit. You meet the age requirement.
They would take me in an instant, I bet.
Yep.
And they would probably make me like a captain too.
Yeah, probably.
That would be a captain in the Russian
naval
Army.
in the Navy. Yeah.
I would be that'd be great to be in the Russian Navy and then just get blown up by a stupid fucking drone jet ski. Looks good. You kind of need headphones because it keeps your hair down.
That's true. If
you didn't have headphones, if you did speakers like me, you would your hair would be like fly. What is the equivalent? Is it that doctor on Back to the Future? Marty and Marty McFly
and Marty McFly and the doc is weird.
Doc
Ignatowski or some stuff.
No,
James Ignatowski from Taxi.
How do you remember his name?
Oh, dude, I don't know. It just came to me. It's a weird name.
Oh man, now we can't start the podcast until I fucking find out what the name of Christopher Lloyd is the guy's name.
Oh, okay.
Doc Brown. God damn. Christopher Lloyd. It wasn't the guy from Taxi Driver. I don't really know where to start this.
What are we doing? We're doing
PTSD and brain injury. I don't think it's mental illness. It's brain injury and PTSD is how I would categorize it. The two being, one being physical and the other being like a mental, emotional thing, which is, it's all chemical. Right. It's all physical and chemical, but one is caused by physical stuff. So let's start with this. This is a story we didn't get to, and I wanted to talk about this because I think it's important.
Are we hot? Are we rolling hot?
Yeah, we're recording. This is something we didn't get to. This is a story we didn't get to last week, and I wanted to address this because I think it's important. It's important at least for the Army, probably for the military as a whole, and society. Let's look at this. The title of this New York Times article that we did not get to from last week is, quote, "A Green Beret went on a shooting rampage. Is the Army at fault?" End quote. So what happened was this 37-year-old Special Forces Sergeant First Class Duke Webb in 2020 entered a bowling alley in Rockford, Illinois one night and started shooting people. And this Sergeant First Class was a perfect soldier. He was never late. He had no disciplinary problems. He was apparently very attentive and, good at his job. And then one day he just snapped and he shot a 14-year-old. This is very gruesome. He went into this bowling alley, shot a 14-year-old boy in the face in the front door, shot a 16-year-old girl in the shoulder when she tried to hide, and then went back to the snack bar and just continued to open fire. And when it was all over, there was 3 wounded and 3 dead. The Army did a study on this guy, did an evaluation on this guy, and they said he's not fit to be discharged. He's got some serious problems that we need to investigate before we just send him into the penal system for murder. That's what the investigating psychiatrist determined. The Army released him anyway with a dishonorable discharge, and now he's waiting trial for murder since 2020. The background of this Sergeant Webb was he deployed 3 times to Latin America, 4 times to Afghanistan, and although his combat exposure was minimal, his blast exposure was constant throughout his career. They said that 10 to 20% of his blast exposure had come in combat, and the vast majority of it was from training, not from war. And the investigating doctor also said that his symptoms resembled those of PTSD, insomnia, anxiety, confusion, problems that are so prevalent in special operators, it has been given a name, operator syndrome. Similarly, back in 2002, 4 soldiers at Fort Bragg murdered their wives in a 6-week time span. And 3 of them were enlisted special forces soldiers that had just come back from Afghanistan. And the 4th one was a combat engineer who had done extensive explosive disposal work in Kosovo. So the Army kind of disavows that this was a problem. In terms of the Fort Bragg murders that all occurred in the time span of 6 weeks, the Army said, and let me show you this news clip from DVids, which is the defense news whatever source, and I'll put all these articles in the show notes so you can read them yourself. It's some pretty gruesome stuff. The article on DVids, Defense Visual Information Distribution Service, says, quote, panel says personnel tempo, marital discord contributed to Bragg murders, end quote. So the Army does not want to acknowledge that this blast trauma, which caused brain injury to this guy, is a systematic problem in the Army. So the Army doesn't want to acknowledge that there's a systematic issue with minute brain trauma, very minute brain trauma that is additive over one's career that causes something like this. This guy, Sergeant Duke, or Duke Webb, was put on some kind of Alzheimer's. It was off-label use of an Alzheimer's drug, and they think this also contributed to him just snapping and killing a bunch of people one night. This is a traumatic brain injury. TBI is what they call it, traumatic brain injury.
Right.
Yeah, it's a problem, and it's very similar to what NFL athletes and athletes that have boxers, MMA athletes, maybe professional wrestlers. There seems to be a problem that the Army doesn't want to address when it comes to not post-traumatic stress syndrome, which is something else, but this micro trauma to the brain. What do you think about this?
I have a friend who is from Rockford, Illinois, and he worked at that bowling alley as a kid, as a teenager, like part-time in the summers or whatever. He doesn't know anything more about this other than that, but I knew he was from Rockford, Illinois, so I sent him that article, and he mentioned that. Yeah. Obviously this is a problem. It's been a problem for a long time. I don't know how the military couldn't recognize this. Everyone knows it. I know it. I'm not sure there's anyone in special operations circles I know that don't know this as well and recognize this. Many years ago, we called this breacher's brain. And, obviously based on people doing explosive breaching, and those like on a special forces A team, you have a demolition sergeant, 2 demolition sergeants that, are, would primarily be your breaching experts or at least set up your explosives for breaching. But, in the community, you called it breacher's brain from all those explosions that you were near, largely during training, of course. Yeah. And we know it's traumatic brain injury, and it is damaging your brain. So if it's a secret, then it's an open secret. I'm very aware of it. There's a lot of people I know are very aware of it. I think we're becoming more and more aware of it. But also the military in general historically has been pretty, and I can only speak to my own experience, pretty cavalier about brain health or brain protection, very cavalier. Like I think is it with the AT4? There's like a little label on it that says you should not fire more than 4 of these in a 24-hour period. Um,
Mm. I wasn't aware
okay,
of that. Didn't
because
know that.
yeah, little label. If I'm remembering this right,
I'm gonna
um,
try and find it while you're
yeah,
talking. Keep talking. I'll try to
um,
find that.
obviously because the explosion can cause the waves, the explosion can cause micro brain trauma. And I think a lot of people, whatever, just blow it off. I remember, and when I was in 19 Special Forces Group doing a training mission to Philippines, I know we were, doing some training with Claymore mines. Again, a Claymore mine works by, kind of a semi circular, curved, piece of C4 that detonates and blows all these, ball bearings away from you. And generally, you put it in front of a tree, a rock, a mound, something to protect yourself from the blast. But again, we were pretty close to it. We were pretty cavalier about it. All we worried about was getting some kind of a fragment injury. Did not think about the blast wave exposure at all, and that was in 1991, I think. But anyway, so like the early 90s, you're really just worried about the fragmentation, not the blast waves. And I know uh, doing training, and I was in 10 Special Forces Group for a while, doing training, again, we were pretty cavalier about explosives. We were just like worried about the fragments, didn't want to get a fragment or anything. But the blast waves of it, no, we were not smart about it. And I personally didn't even think about it, of what TBI that could be causing. Didn't even think about it.
Yeah, and you don't think about it because it's cumulative effect, right?
Right.
And the brain is made up of 100 trillion neurons or whatever it is, some outrageous amount of minute electrical connectivity. And the problem with CTE, let me give you that acronym. It's chronic traumatic encephalopathy. Encephalopathy.
That's why they just call it CTE.
That's why they call it CTE. The problem is that you can't diagnose that till after you're dead, and they have to take your brain and examine your brain in the autopsy to diagnose any form of CTE. And similar, I'm sure it's similar to TBI, traumatic brain injury. You don't know what's going on until you're already dead, and until somebody snaps, kills a bunch of people, and then commits suicide. And so it's like this silent killer that we all know is out there, but nobody wants to do anything about it. And probably the NFL is, I guess if you want to say anybody's in the lead of actually doing something about it, maybe the NFL is, but even then, even they probably don't have, they don't have the motivation to stop the sport, because
No,
I don't think
too much money to be made.
yeah. I mean, there's no helmet in the world that's going to stop these micro traumas to the brain over a 10-year season. And that's not counting 3 or 4 years of college football. And then, high school, 4 years of high school football. And some of these kids start when they're 6 years old. You see Pee Wee, Pop Warner football. You see kids out there at 6 and 7 years old. Oh my God.
It's a societal thing. American society is head trauma stupid.
Mhm.
Parents allow and encourage this head trauma to happen because of their own ignorance. I'm sure many, I say all of us, and many parents have. I coached, at different times, flag football. I made
Yeah.
my son, my oldest son, played flag football. You can still get head injuries in flag football, dude. Yeah, you're not tackling, but there's a lot of contact, and I've seen kids get concussions. I've seen them get head trauma. I told my son I had him wear a rugby helmet, padded rugby helmet, that goes over your head and under your chin. I said, you will wear this padded rugby helmet for flag football, or you won't play flag football. And
Yeah.
I'll make that call right now. You can still bump heads in a lot of sports, diving, soccer, there's a lot of things. But I'm like, hey, you're going to do this, or you're not going to play. And another thing,
Yeah.
I'm not an expert on this, but I believe the safest helmet that you can wear and it's out there, but 99% don't wear them, is a soft helmet. It looks like a normal
Yeah.
helmet, but a hard shell that gives when it hits. And obviously, there's padding around your head, but not a hard helmet. It's the hard helmet that
Yeah.
causes or more readily allows you to get those injuries. But you know what? With a soft helmet, you can't use it as a weapon. With a hard
Yeah.
helmet, right, you're spearing people with that, right?
Right.
The helmet is a weapon. So most of them don't want to use a soft helmet because you can't weaponize it. But I think
Yeah.
Russell Wilson was known to wear this soft helmet. And my son played one season of football with a regular helmet.
The
And
quarterback for the Broncos at one time, that guy,
Russell Wilson, yeah, correct. There's a certain
he wore
type
a
of
soft
helmet.
helmet.
Yeah,
He
right.
wore a special kind of soft helmet. Well, I
Right.
guess quarterbacks are kind of safe,
Ish.
relatively speaking.
Now, like I said, when you see the helmet, it looks like a normal helmet, but it gives. And there's videos of someone, like dropping a 20-pound dumbbell on the helmet, and it shows it giving and, not impacting your skull. But you can't weaponize it. You see more and more NFL
Oh,
players
here it is.
now.
Yeah,
There's a name to it. Whatever
it's
the
called
brand
a
is.
Guardian cap. It's a soft helmet cover.
No, that's not it.
Oh, no.
I know what you're talking about. More and more NFL players do wear that soft cap, right, to
Yeah.
absorb that impact because it's that hard helmet to helmet that transfers that energy. A soft helmet absorbs it instead of transferring it. It absorbs it. I'm not saying it's perfect, but it was shown to reduce the chance of trauma, with helmet to helmet contact of any other system out there. But NFL doesn't mandate it. Players don't want to use it. They'd rather risk brain damage to make $10 million a year.
Well, this ChatGPT information said that soft helmet cover was used by Russell Wilson in practice, called the Guardian cap.
I don't know what it is, but I can't remember the other name of the product because I told my son, if you do continue with this, we're going to buy you, this helmet and you're going to use it. And I'll go to war with the school over it or the league or whatever. My son is going to wear that helmet. It costs like $3,000 a piece, something like that.
What?
Is it the Vices?
I don't know. That seems like a lot.
Vices helmet?
It seems like.
It's most expensive. Yeah.
Seems like it prices itself out of use, right?
Well, $3,000. Well, for what? For the NFL, that makes $10 million a year per player.
Oh yeah, I mean, the NFL, sure, but not for Pee Wee League or high school or something.
Yeah. So for a parent, if my son wasn't going to continue with that, I would have bought that helmet, and we could figure it out.
That's a big investment.
I care $3,000. Well, you'd spend more of that on going out to dinner and a year.
I guess it seems expensive, but yeah, I mean,
how much do you value your brain health over your lifetime?
Yeah, I guess don't play it.
Expensive, ain't fucking expensive.
So they do have, I know, in ski helmets, and just not to talk about helmets specifically, but in ski helmets and mountain bike helmets, they have something called a MIPS. MIPS, I can't remember what it stands for, but when you take a hit on the helmet, the helmet itself breaks, and so it twists and it conforms to whatever the forces are, and then you have to throw that helmet away. It's a one-time use MIPS. But that's what most impact helmets are going to now, is that when you get a really hard hit, the whole thing breaks and you throw it away and you get a new helmet. Okay, $200.
I'm sending you this to your
WhatsApp.
WhatsApp. Yeah, it's Vices.
Okay.
Like I said, I researched this many years ago. Flexible outer shell technology allows the 02 to respond like no other helmet by deforming like a car bumper. I guess that's what I wasn't able to describe. Yeah. It's that. I mean, it looks like a normal hard shell helmet, just like your bumper does, but when it hits.
Oh, I see. Yeah, let's.
See, this one's for sale for $680.
Let me throw it up here let me share the screen. And I'll put this link if you want to buy this helmet.
This is okay. Well, I guess we're not promoting. That's what I would have bought my son.
Okay.
If he was going to continue to play, but he ended up not. So I didn't. But I'm like, you're going to wear this kind of helmet.
Interesting. Flexible outer shell technology responds like no other, deforms. I guess you have to throw this thing away when you're done, right? Or does it go back to its original?
Yeah, dude. Yeah, it doesn't just deform once and now you got a dent in your helmet. Yeah, pops back out. Good God.
I don't know. I played football, believe it or not, in high school.
What position?
And I played Pop Warner football for a while as a kid.
What position?
With full contact. I mean, that probably explains
what position?
Some of my issues. But yeah, okay.
What position?
But it's not just football though, right? It's not just American. They take hits in soccer. We had a kid last summer take a hit going up. Two kids go up for a header and collided, and the kid had to go to the hospital. And talk about micro traumas. I mean, just heading the soccer ball. That is a effective, necessary technique in soccer, to hit that soccer ball with your head and direct it with your head.
So, well, this is also why I won't.
American sports.
Yeah, I won't let my sons box.
Boxing, yeah.
My sons have showed some interest at time to time. We hit the focus pads or whatever. I boxed for a couple of years in college. I'm like, until you're age 18 and can make your own decisions, you're not boxing. I'm not allowing you to box. And I advise you to never box. You can hit focus pads. You can, train. You can hit a heavy bag. You want to get hit in the head several thousand times for many years. I said, it's stupid. And I got my youngest son doing jujitsu. I'm like, that's safer.
You and I used to do jujitsu a lot. We used to do jujitsu against each other. I think you broke my rib once. I still
don't think so.
You did.
You were a better boxer than me. Like you had some skills, and I was like kind of surprised by it.
You were heavier than me. Not that that's an excuse in jujitsu, but one time I put you in a leg triangle, and you crushed down on my whole body, and I was upside down. And I think you broke one of my ribs because it still hurts.
Oh, really?
And that was like 15 years ago.
That was certainly not intentional, but at that time, my jujitsu skills were far past your own. Like I don't even know why. Like you tried.
I was better stand up.
You were better stand up for sure. Yeah.
Do you know that there was when I used to do that stuff, you would get hit in the head. And you would get, they call it getting shocked or flashed. You get that flash, boom. And then I got a helmet the guys in Taekwondo wore.
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
And I never got flashed again.
Oh, good for you.
The entire time I was doing that kind of stuff, that MMA, Taekwondo, Jiu-Jitsu, and Muay Thai. I never got flashed. But you know what? I got hit in the head so many times. Who knows?
Yeah, I told my kids, I'm like, you're not doing it.
It's not a good sport.
I'm like, it's not worth it. You can do all the training parts of it, but when it gets to the point of hitting each other in the head, go ahead and stop. Like, if you're not going to make your money doing that as a profession, there's no point in doing it ever.
And even if you do, I mean, what is the percentage chance you're going to make any money in MMA? And what is versus the percent chance that you're going to have some kind of brain damage in your life?
Yeah, you're probably going to have some. Yeah.
That there were kids in there and adults, they were adult, but they're young adults that would pound with no helmet, no headgear, the 5-ounce MMA gloves, just go at it all the time, twice a week. Full contact.
Yeah, brain damage. You're doing brain damage.
Yeah. Something is wrong
brain
there.
damage. Yeah, for sure. You're
incurring
it. Yeah.
I personally love watching MMA. I love boxing. I love jiu-jitsu and wrestling and all that stuff. But man, it is not safe. It's not a safe thing.
A lot of guys do jiu-jitsu intentionally because they know you're not getting head damage, head trauma. Yeah. A lot of guys are like, this is safer. I mean, it's a good combat sport and rough, and a lot of people don't last more than a month. But you know what? I'm not getting hit in the head 100 times a night for years. That's not sustainable.
No, it's not. But getting back to the Army thing.
Back to it.
Back to the Army thing.
4 Weave Wednesday.
Well, I know we got a little off on brain damage, our
War Week
personal brain
Wednesday.
damages, our personal brain damages, which I'm sure are extensive, and we won't know until we die, and they cut us open. But getting back to this Army thing, this non-attribution, this not taking responsibility, because you know that one of the credos of being an Army officer or an NCO or enlisted is you take responsibility for your action. But Big Army does not. They do not take responsibility for something that could hamstring their operations. Just like I attribute, not attribute, but I compare this traumatic brain injury stuff to Agent Orange in Vietnam.
I was about to bring that up.
Yeah, it was called Operation Ranch Hand, was the umbrella term for the operation. I think they had sub operations under that, but they flew Agent Orange, which had a chemical called dioxin, which is highly not even carcinogenic. Let's just say just will kill everything. It's just bad, right?
It's an herbicide, right?
It is. Yeah.
It's an herbicide. Yeah.
Yeah. And I can't remember how it kills plants, but it blocks some kind of hormone or something.
They had different color codes for different herbicides. Agent Blue, Agent Green, Agent Green, Agent Yellow.
Yeah.
Jinx.
And I think Agent Orange I don't think it was
one
worst.
of them.
Maybe red was the worst. I don't remember exactly.
It's a color code for different herbicides. Yeah.
These pilots on these planes that flew over the jungles to kill the jungles, I mean, that was the solution. The solution to having the Viet Cong hide in the jungles where you couldn't see them is get rid of the jungle, right?
It showed you, there's a lot of stupidity that the U.S. military has exhibited over time. That's one of them. I've seen... You and I both have seen a lot of stupidity from the U.S. military.
But they would look, this stuff lasts also, as a side note, I guess, dioxin lasts forever. It has a half-life of forever. So it's still in the groundwater and the soil in Vietnam. Still, people, it's tragic.
Who made it?
Oh, who made dioxin? Oh, good question.
I want to say like DuPont, but
it was probably like Dow Chemical or some shit.
Maybe. And a couple companies did. Do you know why? Do you know why they were shielded from lawsuits?
Lawsuits? Dow?
You know why?
No, how?
Because they made it as part of the DPA, the Defense Production Act. The U.S. government exercised the Defense Production Act in Vietnam, and that compels legally companies to manufacture whatever products for the U.S. military. Usually just done in a time of war, but that's like telling Ford, hey, you're going to make, or Chrysler, you're going to make Sherman tanks. The Defense Production Act, I think it was actually started during the Korean War. But anyways, the U.S. government used the Defense Production Act and ordered these companies to produce herbicides like Agent Orange. So, and the company's like, legally, we must make this product. And the government's going to buy it from us at a set rate. So that's why they were shielded from lawsuits. They're like, no. They're like, don't sue us, sue the U.S. government. We were compelled to make this product.
According to my ChatGPT search here, Agent Orange was produced by several U.S. chemical companies, including Dow and, of course, Monsanto.
Oh, yeah, Monsanto, right.
Like, if
that still has lawsuits.
If Satan came came up from hell and decided to start his own firm, it would have been Monsanto. Was that too dramatic?
I had a personal experience, and I don't know if you want to go into this now or not.
With Satan or Agent Orange?
Now, with PTSD and TBI, I knew a guy in the military who exhibited problems like this article that you and I are talking about, and people should read. It's an interesting read. I knew him before he had full-blown delusions and just a delusional world. I knew him before that. I knew there was something wrong with him. There's something off with him. But but I had nothing, specific. And then I left a unit. And then later, I ended up reading a very in-depth article about him. So a lot of stuff is public information is published about him. I would never say anything specific from my own experience, but he just seemed like, okay, not any, thing wrong or different. I'm just saying something off with this guy. Couldn't tell you, but
yeah.
But again, what do you want from me? I'm not, I'm a commander of a unit. I'm not a psychologist. Like we're better with physical injuries, not mental injuries. And it's real hard to determine when someone has a mental issue, like compared to just like a normal person. We're like, oh, that dude's weird, man. Anyways, he ended up having, full blown psychotic episodes, lived in a delusional world. And he wasn't a special operations guy. He was like an intel guy. Not someone you would think where like, hey, we jump out airplanes and do explosive breaching. Now, he didn't fit the profile. Also doesn't matter. But, he had a couple tours or whatever. But he eventually lived in a delusional world. And he obviously was pulled from all assignments, pulled from all deployments, stopped going to work, was on full medical treatment plan. But everything they did to try to help him and evaluate him, he just spun into an overarching conspiracy, like to get him. And he ended up, committing suicide. Not going on a rampage, but
was it from post-traumatic stress syndrome, or was it from TBI, micro TBIs? Do they know?
Both.
Both.
Oh, I don't know. How much exposure does the average, trainee or whatever get to this, for the TBI? How much do we know? How much do we track it? But also, it obviously seriously negatively impacts a minority. Not everyone has TBI or exposed to this, goes off the rails on a shooting spree. It's a vast minority. A lot of people have symptoms of this, right, but not that full-blown violent, meltdown.
I think you told me about this, which I found shocking, but also like a revelation. Like I had an epiphany when you told me that PTSD is not, there's a scale. It's a continuum.
Yeah, it's not everyone thing. Yeah.
It's not
like this.
You have it or you don't.
Right.
You have some of it just from being, whatever we do in the Army.
Right.
So even if you never saw combat, you never saw a dead body, you never saw people get blown up, you never saw any of that stuff, you still have you're somewhere on the scale of PTSD. And I thought back on that when you told me that, I'm like, yeah, that makes total sense.
Like with this guy in the article, he exhibited something called hypervigilance. I have hypervigilance. A lot of people, depending on their job in the military war zone stuff, get hypervigilance. And I don't know if it goes away, but that you walk in a room and you see everybody. There's a white middle-aged woman wearing a red sweatshirt. There's a younger college-aged male, black, with a t-shirt and jeans. There's a husband and wife waiting in line with two kids, 3 to 5 year olds, with a teddy bear, whatever. You go in and you start assessing people. You start categorizing them. They are data to be absorbed and for you to understand, because you're seeing if they're a threat. And you're trying to understand your surroundings. You are hyper aware. You are hyper vigilant. And like, I can't make it go away yet. So I got out in 2022. I haven't made it go away yet. Like, to me, but it's normal. That's why, like, when you have these issues, you can't self-diagnose. Like, I know everyone in my gym. Like, the gym I go to a couple days a week, I know every person in there. If I see them more than once, I see them. I know who they are, man, woman, old, whatever. I've made the mistake sometimes of saying hi to someone from my gym. Like, hey, dude, I've seen you in the gym like 5 days a week for a year. But he doesn't know me from Adam. I'm like, how do you not know me or see me? I know everyone who's in my gym. And they're like, I don't know who you are, bro. And I'm like, sorry, my bad.
The problem is turning it off.
You can't.
You can't turn it off. I mean, because
it seems like do it intentionally. Yeah.
It seems like there's some value to having that hypervigilance. I mean,
what if you live in the Bronx?
Well, I mean, it's not the same as being a special operator and being on a mission. But when I go to Ukraine, or if I go to Moldova and I'm, like I'm constantly trying not to get kidnapped,
Right.
even though that might not be a direct
That's
threat to me,
war
or
zone thinking.
stabbed, or
You're exhibiting war zone high risk thinking that doesn't exist in your sleepy little neighborhood that you live now.
right. But I can shut
That's
it
the
off.
thing.
I don't do that at home.
Well,
I
if you
don't.
can, good for you. Well, then that's a good thing. I
Maybe
cannot, and a lot of
I'm
people
just
cannot.
lucky.
Right, and
I'm just
that
lucky.
guy that we read about, he had vigilance, and that's all part of the syndrome. That's just one piece of it, of
Right.
that hyper awareness. But if you're hyper vigilant and you're hyper aware, you are also ready to react. You're not just doing this because you're bored. You're like, I need to gather information to know if
Right.
someone's a threat or an issue,
Right.
because now I'm gonna react to it.
Plus,
But
you
that
always have a plan B. Like you can't go to the grocery store and walk in and get stuff without having a plan B. Like, where's the exit? How many people are here? What if somebody starts shooting? Like, kind of not being able to turn that off sounds terrible. Like it
correct.
sounds like noise.
You see things, you
Yeah,
remember things, you know things that other people just aren't aware of, and then
yeah,
and then it manifests itself in your daily life, and now you're the weird dude. I'm the dude saying hi to you because we go to the same gym, but you can't remember me at all.
yeah.
So now it's weird. Another thing
Awkward.
I've noticed with
Unless you
that,
call him by his first name, that's even more awkward.
yeah, hey George. But then I've also seen that with driving, hypervigilance with driving, and 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 everyone around you is an idiot because I
Mm,
know when to turn right now. I know how much space I need. So maybe aggressive driving. I've seen myself and a lot of people kind of with my background with aggressive driving. Hey,
yeah,
like I can see stuff. I can see X amount of cars ahead. I know when to
yeah,
turn. I know when to do this. But everyone else around you is like, doo, 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 doo. And you're like, what the fuck are you doing, bro? Don't
yeah,
you see you can go? No, dude,
yeah,
they can't see because they don't have that vigilance. But I also get really over focused on other cars or drivers that I thought were driving stupidly,
yeah.
going too slow, not taking a turn when they could have. Hey, you could have made the light, but you didn't. I start to hyper focus on them, like, what the fuck's your problem? But I'm like, oh, that's all part of my PTSD. And I read about it, and you say, oh, other people do this too. When that's also
Mm,
can be like the road rage, where you got a beef with this anonymous person because they're not
yeah.
responding as quick as you, and they're not driving like you think they should, and now you got a beef with them in your mind. Doesn't make any sense,
I
but it's
have been
also real.
I've been guilty of that too, the driver's road rage, and it is a symptom. It stems from me being very predictive on the road. Like I can see, I look ahead, like you said, and then I think, why aren't these morons also predictive? Like that I have to merge. You see a car
Why
in the
aren't you
merge
doing it?
lane. That car must merge at some point in the next 200 meters because the lane ends. And I'm like, why are you not predictive enough to either speed up, slow down, let me do, get it? And I get super angry as well. And something that helped me on that was I just look at the entire world as little atoms. Like they're just molecules. They're not, I dehumanize vehicles on the road.
That
And
sounds
it just,
awful.
they're just physical objects. They're not humans inside that vehicle. That seems to help me. But getting back to
Sounds a little bizarre, but if it does,
it's a
do it.
method.
It's
It's a
just a
method that
method.
seems to help me
Oh, well,
with
okay.
road rage.
Well, there it is. Yeah.
But
And
look,
not just military dudes get PTSD.
of
Don't
course,
don't 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 think that firefighters. I got a friend
EMTs,
who was robbed. Armed robbery in
of course, rape
Colombia as a
victims.
kid. Right? He has PTSD, and I'm
Yeah,
like Enrique. I'm like, bro. I'm like, I'm the fucking one with PTSD from the military. Like, dude, not you, but he had this incident 30 years ago that still sticks with him, and he still feels that threat. And I'm like, that doesn't make any sense. But
yeah.
PTSD does make sense.
It doesn't make sense. And neither does the traumatic brain injury because it happens at such a small level. There was an article that recently came out and I couldn't find it. I might put it in the show notes, but it talked about at the gun range that there is micro traumas at the gun range.
Absolutely, there is.
Shooting weapons in a closed environment. I'm like, oh my God, because I enjoy going to the gun range. I have shot every caliber thing short of 50 caliber at the gun range. And I'm like, holy shit, how much micro trauma have I taken in from stuff like that?
No, my advice to that, if you're doing a rifle, use a suppressor.
Outside?
Yeah, use a suppressor.
But
every time you shoot, use a suppressor. If you want to stop that gun blast,
doesn't keep
muzzle,
the dude next to you that brings in
Well, that's why you can't solve this problem. But that's one of the advantages of a suppressor is reducing that gun blast.
Sure.
With pistols, you got a problem. You can use suppressors on a pistol too, but again, you got a problem with that. You'd have to protect your head. You know what? It means wearing a helmet.
You'd have to wear a helmet on the gun range.
Yeah, but well, that's weird, bro. Everyone's got baseball hats on and sunglasses, or indoor gun range, dude. You'd have to wear like a helmet, absolutely, to protect yourself if you really cared about this. But you don't because it's a hassle. So you shoot a couple thousand rounds,
and it's and
get that trauma.
You just don't notice it. There's no immediate feedback. There's no immediate feedback. In fact, it's a negative feedback loop because when I shoot a gun, or remember maybe when you're around artillery back in the day and that thing goes off, it's not like, oh, I should be, that was terrible. That was traumatic. It's like, oh, that was cool. Like it's a negative feedback. It's like it's a reinforcement, like in the Army, that you want to see a claymore go off. You want to feel that blast in your face, that blast wave, right? That shit is cool. That's stuff that people like to do in the Army. I mean, it's just it's not even a cultural thing. It's a human nature thing to see things get blown up and be like, holy shit, that was kind of cool,
Which highlights the human species' collective stupidity.
Yeah, but what are you going to do about it?
Try not to be a moron.
Getting back to the Agent Orange thing, do you know what I think is our generation's Agent Orange?
Burn pit exposure.
What is it? Sorry, what did you say?
Burn pit exposure.
Ooh, I've been exposed to burn pit. I'm sure you've been exposed to burn pit. That's some nasty shit. No, more traumatic brain injury wise, I think MRAPs, mine resistant and ambush protected vehicles. So an MRAP is a specially made armored vehicle that is supposed to protect you from improvised explosive devices in particular. So if someone puts a road bomb, like a roadside bomb, or underneath the road, an improvised explosive device, the design of this vehicle, which has a V-shaped hole so the blast goes to the sides, and it's also set higher so you have some distance. I don't know how much that helps, but you have some distance from the actual blast to the vehicle. We had a problem in OEF in the beginning that the Iraqis and the Afghanis, the Taliban, were using improvised explosive devices and killing a lot of Americans because we were driving around in Humvees. And the solution, which from a physical, just looking at the solution, yes, it solved the problem. If the problem was keep American soldiers alive, because the MRAP kept people alive, but it did not protect you completely. And so I know a guy who kind of was proud of the number of IED explosions that he had been in MRAPs and other vehicles. And this individual, when you looked at him and he talked, you could see through his eyes and tell that there was nothing behind him. You meet guys like that?
Oh, yeah.
because there is a protocol in the Army for traumatic brain injury events. And I think it's something like you have to be on watch for 48 hours, blah, blah, blah. But I honestly don't believe that if you're a commander at any level and you have somebody that was in a IED and they come back from mission and they have no physical, nothing. They're not concussed. They don't have pupil dilation or constriction, whatever it is. They don't have cerebral spinal fluid flowing out of their ears or nose. And they have no symptoms or signs or symptoms at all. I don't believe that you're going to keep them from going out on patrol again. And so it's a cumulative effect. And that guy,
we do a very bad job at this. Very bad. The military.
A terrible job. It's tragic.
Yeah.
I think that guy he must have been in like 6 IED explosions. And the MRAP will keep you alive. But what I always say, it's like being in a little metal lunchbox. Remember the metal lunchboxes when we were kids and you had a little thermos that matched your Scooby-Doo lunchbox? It's like being in that metal lunchbox and just somebody just shaking it. You know, you're alive, but your head is just like the blast.
The military would, right? You'd have to track this like the NFL. The NFL's gotten better. I'm not saying they're great, but like, hey, you get a head injury, you go into concussion protocol. Hey, you're out for the rest of the game. Maybe you don't play next week either. Like a guy like that who is in an IED blast in a vehicle, you got to be like, hey, dude, you're not going on patrol for a month. Take them off. You guys who happen to get in that blast, okay, and it's a minority, you're going to sit. You can let your brain heal. Mm-hmm. But also, you would need to count the injuries. You would have to have a sheet counting this. And at some point, hey, dude, you're non-deployable. You've been in 3 IED attacks and an MRAP. You are no longer deployable to a war zone. You need to go stateside, reclass into a different profession, or get out. Right? Yeah. That's what it would take, because you keep throwing back in the meat grinder. Now these guys got brain damage and PTSD, and then you wonder how they went off the rails. You weren't keeping track of the TBI he was getting.
That would require the U.S. Army to acknowledge there's a major problem,
right,
and it's systemic. Absolutely. And they would have to do something. I mean, they do it with. Right. If you requested, if a guy came in and said, "Look, I've been in 6 IEDs. I would like to be reclassed as logistics or something, space officer," right?
Sure.
Yeah, the Army will not keep you from reclassing. But if you said, "Hey, I've been in 6 IEDs and I'm ready to go out," your commander is not going to keep you from going out on patrol.
No, it's not. Yeah, you're right. It's not imbued in the culture.
Sure.
That safety aspect isn't there. You would want the individual, but the individual won't too, for 1,000 different reasons. The individual should self-select and be like, "Hey, I'm out, dude. I'm not re-upping. This isn't worth it to me anymore."
And people do it. I knew a guy that I worked with in Space Command, in Army space. He was 11 Bravo. He was on patrol, like a normal patrol, somewhere in Iraq that was not, it wasn't a dangerous area. And he was with another guy and they were just walking, and they got jumped from the alley. 2 guys jumped these 2 guys, and it turned into, a jujitsu rolling on the ground knife fight. And this guy had to stab this guy right in the head to end this.
Where was this?
Somewhere in Iraq. I can't remember the exact place. And it wasn't a dangerous place, relatively speaking. And from this, obviously, that guy had some issues and he had PTSD.
Who jumped?
And he got reclassed.
Who jumped these guys?
Some Iraqis, a couple of Iraqi guys just jumped them, like physically jumped on them and started like trying to kill them.
Was this like a combat patrol? Was this on a base, like going to the chow hall? Like what was this?
No, it wasn't on a base. They were they were walking around some kind of town.
Patrolling.
Patrolling.
It just sounds bizarre that someone would physically jump on you.
Yes, exactly. That was the story. They physically jumped on them and tried to kill them. And these guys could not get to their sidearm. couldn't get their rifle.
Gotcha.
And so it turned into jujitsu with a knife, and the guy ended up stabbing this guy right in the head and killed him. And that was the only way he could stop it. And he was traumatized from that. And he reclassed as a space weenie.
Smart move.
Army space. Yeah. But yeah, it's all cumulative. You've got post-traumatic stress disorder. You've got micro TMI. You've got major TBI with IED explosions. And this is a problem. And I feel like this is our Agent Orange. This is our generation's Agent Orange, where the Army's really not acknowledging it. They're not really doing anything about it. And people are snapping. And, just like this special forces guy, he snapped and he went into a bowling alley and he injured 3 and killed 3. And, and apparently he looks back on it now. He's like, yeah, I don't know what I was doing, but, I deserve to be punished for it.
It was interesting with Michael Whitman, the Texas Tower shooter.
Okay.
In 1961.
Okay. Michael Whitman. All right.
Do I got the name, or do I got the name right? Or is it Charles Whitman? I think maybe it was Charles Whitman.
I'll Google it.
I did some research on this. Wrote a chapter about urban sniping, and he was a serial shooter.
Charles Whitman.
Charles Whitman,
you have it.
Whitman. What am I thinking? Yeah, Charles Whitman.
Close enough. Close enough.
And he was a serial shooter at the University of Texas, Austin, and something called the Texas Tower. But he said that, and he's like, "Hey, there's something wrong with me." He wrote a note or whatever. He's like, "There's something wrong with me. There's something wrong with my brain." And he's like, I want someone to do an autopsy on me when I'm done doing what I'm going to do." And he killed his wife, killed his mother or mother-in-law, and then shot a whole bunch of people and students at the University of Texas, Austin. But they did an autopsy and they found a large tumor in his brain.
Yeah.
So it's interesting, where you're like, you just can't write the guy off. He's a psychopath. There's something wrong with him. Yeah, you're right. He is a psychopath. There's something wrong with him, but why?
Yeah.
But, he's just brain injury, brain trauma, whatever you want to classify a tumor as. He knew there's something wrong with him. But anyway.
Here's a New York Times article that I was reading in preparation for this episode. It's from 2021. And it's called, quote, "A stranger shattered their lives. At first, they didn't know why. A family reckons with the devastation left behind after a former NFL player shows up on their property," end quote. The gist of this story is that this NFL player, and his name, I think it was something Adams. He was a NFL player that had played in the league for 6 years. Not a big star, but he played for 6 years. And one day he just shows up on this property and starts killing people with submachine guns.
Oh,
out of the blue. He had been retired from the NFL. He was living with his mother, taking care of his mother in this town. And the story itself is really tragic. What he did to this family, killed a lot of people. And I won't go into the details because it's really gruesome. And, I think we have enough gruesome stuff to deal with. But they did an autopsy on this NFL player, and he had stage 2 CTE.
Of course.
Chronic traumatic encephalopathy. It's a problem, and it's a problem in the Army, and they need to do something about it. They need to admit it. They need to recognize and admit that it's a systemic issue.
Change the way you do business. The thing is change and liability. They don't want either of those. It's easier to just keep doing what you're doing. Kick the can, not your problem. Happens to somebody else type of thinking.
Yeah. Well, that's brain injury and post-traumatic stress in the U.S. Army. That's it. There's a lot more to it. There's a lot more data out there. But that's just a couple of anecdotes. Okay, I will see you War Weave Friday.
Let's do it.
Okay.
Ready for it.
Bye-bye.
The Flash Traffic Podcast.